Good evening, Niner faithful. Just a quick episode here coming on to announce some live news. The 49ers did just sign their new returner. The 49ers are investing in special teams, and I am pumped about this one. Ray Ray McCloud has been signed to a 2-year deal per Jeremy Fowler. Very excited by these initial reports. The Niners were one of 6 teams interested. So to me, this is finally one of those redemption stories where we have all of these free agents where the 49ers are kicking the tires. We hear the reports about the 49ers being interested, and then lo and behold, they sign with another team. This is the opposite of that. The 49ers were involved in what you would assume was a fairly heated race for a leading returner within the league, and they come out victorious. They bring home the free agency gold, and that's what I'm here for. I'm going to get into a little bit about Ray Ray, but I want to celebrate those that are already here in the chat. I'm not in my usual San Francisco gear, but it is a green Niners t-shirt. Got to go with the Irish green for St. Paddy's Day. Happy St. Paddy's Day to everybody. Randall Riley coming in. Ray Ray, welcome. I concur. All right, people are happy. Brian is just praising the fact that we have brought in this phenomenal free agent, James Perez. First one in. Let's freaking go. We making sneaky moves. Hey, Randall Riley, brick by brick by frickin' brick. James Perez says, absolutely, that's how we're building it. Daniel Garcia, hope we can sign Collins. Already not satisfied. You want to bring on the additional free agent, the tackle out of Dallas, Lyle Collins. I agree. That would be a phenomenal signing as well. And Gilmore, just add to the list. Both would be great, but I'm excited about Ray Ray McCloud as Niner for life points out. We could definitely add to this, but I agree with Raphael 562 Niners, a sneakerhead here on the channel. This is an excellent signing. Awesome signing, according to Raphael. Justin rhyming it up. Ray Ray to the Bay. Love this move, as do I. Addresses, as Nick from the Mo says, addresses a big need for the San Francisco 49ers. Finally investing in free agency. Oh, sigh of relief. Jan Solo coming in. John Solo coming in. Free agency heating up. Yes, this one feels really good. I'm really excited about this signing. Joe Stoll coming in at Rob. I'm late. What happened? Not a whole lot, except for we signed our returner. Let me get into this. Ray Ray McCloud, per Jeremy Fowler, signed to a 2-year deal. This is absolutely a clutch returner within the league. I mean, league leader in yards and returns. Although I am quoting Jordan Elliott's tweet here, yards per return tied for 5th. So, I mean, it's not a small sample size. He is a great returner with a large sample size and led the league in return yards. So, caught 39 passes. He is a receiver, caught 39 passes, 277 yards in addition to those return skills. But he led the NFL with 38 punt returns for 367 yards. He returned 35 kickoffs for 776 yards. Overall, he led all returners with 1,143 total return yards in 2021. We are making special teams special again. It is exciting. Raphael 562 asking the question, how will the Niners use McCloud? Well, he will definitely be our hands down best punt returner on the unit, and that's great. Take away those reps from Deebo Samuel. Let Deebo focus on being a receiver or a wide back. No need to exhaust the man in just having him try to do everything on the football field. So it will be primary returner. I would think kick returner as well. So I would think both punt and kick returner. He will be the primary man there. And then he is a fast guy. It's weird because he is listed as a speedster. I mean, described as a speedster. But in going back, the man ran a 4.53 at his at the combine in 2018. He ran a 4.49 at his pro day. But man, you watch him on tape, and that's the difference between timed speed and game speed. You watch him on highlights, man, for the Pittsburgh Steelers over the last couple of years, and he is turning on the Jets. And the other thing that the 40 doesn't measure is the 40, you're running in a straight line. In the NFL, you are very seldom running in a straight line. You're running basically in a straight line, but then you got to And when you watch his jukes, oh my goodness, silky smooth. He maintains a really, really high top speed there. Is he strictly a returner? No. I just watched a highlight reel where I saw him on an end around. I have to think that we will see that within Kyle Shanahan's offense as well. Lorenzo pointing out, look at the Niners making the moves behind the scenes. Yes, they are. Something to be excited about, Niner fans. Something to be excited about. Bringing in some of the current ones, I just got fast forwarded, so I'm bringing in Matt Shug because he brings good information. He does play the slot in addition to the returner. I like this description of jukes. Jujukes. It's doubling up the amount of juking he can do. You saw my juke? I'm just going to say, I've shed a tackler or two. I have not. I've got laid out. That's about it. All right, so let's talk about him for a little bit. So to me, career numbers. Let's get into that. 81 career punts, 76 career kickoffs. Entered the NFL as a 6th-round draft pick out by the Buffalo Bills. Like I said, in 2018, coming out of Clemson. At the combine in that 2018 year, he did measure in at 5'9.5" and 190 pounds. So he's a smaller guy, but he's not slight of frame. I mean, just a hair under 5'10" and 190. That's a solid build. He's 25 years old. Again, at the combine, ran a 4.53, and then at his pro day at Clemson, a 4.49. But when you look at him on the field, he just doesn't look like a 4.5 guy. He looks like a 4.3 guy. He is accelerating away from most of the defenders on the field when you watch his highlights. I will call out that he didn't lose any fumbles last year, but I pulled this one from Akash. He did fumble 5 times last year. Didn't lose any of them, but did fumble them as a returner. So just something to be aware of. I'm not trying to poo-poo this. I think it's a fantastic move. But this to me is, you're talking about multiple investments, right? You have the linebacker that we added the other day in Burks. You have the investment in Brian Schneider, the new special teams coach. And now you're going to bring in a returner. The only thing that makes this a little bittersweet for me is my infatuation with Marcus Jones in the draft. Because of that, because they are taking Ray Ray McCloud right now, it makes me fear that we won't be after any type of a returner in the draft. Maybe we still take Marcus Jones because he's an excellent nickel corner as well. But man, when he filled 2 roles, when he was both the nickel and one of the best returners in the draft, I thought maybe we would take him in the 4th. Tom Jensen coming in. Tom always brings fantastic information. I'm looking here to see if there's any. At Rob, they needed a returner, and it's overdue, but this draft has the best returners in a long time. I knew there'd be something in here, Tom. Disappointed. This means no Marcus Jones and no Calvin Austin. Tom and I are on the same page. It's because Tom has reached out to me with fantastic information. He has clued me in on some of these guys to put my eyes on. And when I put on the tape, it matches exactly as Tom lays it out. And so he and I then find ourselves infatuated with the same individuals. This is the only bittersweet piece of it for me, is that it does mean the Niners are less likely to go after a returner in the draft. But man, if that's my only problem, talk about first world problems there. And you could still go after one of those guys in the draft if you just say to yourself, you need a true burner. Because again, while it looks like he is outrunning most people on the field, he's not. I haven't seen crazy top end, high mile per hour speeds for this guy. You know how they're tracking that now. And again, you go back to his pro day and his combine time, and he's not an elite speed guy. So maybe they still go for that elite speed wide receiver later in the draft. And if Marcus Jones falls for any reason because of the health concern on his shoulders, maybe there's still a chance. All right. Brian saying he does everything. Quick little guy. He is quick. Maybe quick is a better way to say it. Maybe that's a better way to say it. EMA Beat saying absolutely. Yes. Sean 951 Niners, trust the process with Lynch and Shanny. Trust it. Patience, people. Ramon coming in, one of our sneakerheads as well, at Rob. Ray Area. Ray Area. I mean, we got Ray Area. We got Trey Area. We got it all. We got it all in the Bay. Norberto coming in. Felt great to help Rams whoop that ass. I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Maybe Ray Ray contributed against the Rams. I didn't see that game. John Perez, patient, shifty, sure-handed, tough, and quickness. Finally, this feels like something you guys are getting behind. This feels like something I know I'm behind. This is something that I am excited about, but it seems like the folks that are in the know right now, it is 8:20 p.m. On St. Patty's Day. And so I'm guessing there's a fair number of 49er faithful that are out there celebrating and have no idea that this has transpired and have no idea that I'm on live rambling about it. But if you're here with me, if you're celebrating this move, hit that like button for me. Amplify that message. Get a notification sent to more and more and more Niner faithful so that they join in on this fun celebration of the Niners making special teams special again. It is what it is, says front office is actually listening to our needs. The interesting thing here is we've actually been targeting needs all along. I mean, definitely had a need at cornerback. Check that box. Definitely had a need at special teams as far as coverage units. Check that box. Definitely had a need after my man DJ Jones unfortunately got his fortunately got his payday, unfortunately headed to the Denver Broncos, and we checked that box of a run stopper, not of DJ Jones caliber. I'm not disparaging DJ Jones, but now we address the kick return game. This is huge, huge. Stivers 209. Let's go 49ers special teams. Yes, Norberto. I will always make. Norberto is making some weird statements. Maybe Norberto, we won't revisit your comments there. Starco fan 212 at Rob Shue. Do you think we will still draft Christian Watson for Lance even with this signing? I actually didn't think we would draft Christian Watson prior to this signing. I think he'll be gone by 61 when we pick. So I do not think that. Raphael 562 Niners, like and subscribe, everyone. Appreciate you, Raphael 562. Mr. Two Phone says still might get him because he's a good corner. We're talking about my guy, Marcus Jones, in the draft. Yes. Theo Romo, we prioritize offense and defensive line in the draft now, right? I mean, it wasn't a question there. It was an exclamation. So Theo believes that we are going to address D-line and O-line. I don't know. We still need safety. We still, I think, could use another wide receiver. Definitely have to go O-line. And yeah, I would definitely like to get an edge. So in addition to those you say, I still think there are a few other needs on the team. Yes, Starco fan 212. Niners waiting for everyone to attack first, then attack. It is. Matt Mayoko had the great analogy. Everyone has heard it, right? When you have a jar that you're attempting to fill with a bunch of large rocks, medium-sized rocks, small rocks, and then sand, you don't throw the sand in first. You have to take care of the big rocks. This is a time management trick that a lot of people will teach in the corporate world, right? You take the big rocks, you put them in the jar. Then you take the medium rocks and you put them in the spaces that are in between the big rocks. And then the small rocks fill in the rest of the spaces. And then you pour the sand over the top and it finally fills in all of the cracks. That's the way free agency works as well. You got to get those big rocks out of the way. And those big ones are generally the ones people overpay for. The Niners got a deal done on the first day, but it felt like didn't really have to overpay for it, but then have gotten more active as they have in years recent, but years past. They have waited for some of these value picks, and there's still talent out there. The Niners are still bringing in quality individuals. We're not talking about scrubs, right? They are addressing needs. Alexander F., offensive line, now my bros. Yeah, I would like to see a veteran along the O-line myself. Stivers, Rob, let's go. I'm ready to go to the Super Bowl next year with Trey Lance. Hey, I love that energy. 49ers amateur draft scout, speed is our motto. A guy looks just grease lightning fast when you watch his highlights. 187 says about time. Ender, if they address O-line this week, I'll be happy. I think they might. David Hasselhoff. Goodness gracious, we've got David Hasselhoff in the chat. I bet his three cone drill is fast. Yes, I do think typically you have these guys that are shifty, quick, and faster with the pads on, because I referenced earlier he ran a 4.5 at his combine. So not like a crazy burner here. Punch you in the eye, says draft 3-0 lineman. F it. Mark Pfizer, I like this move. I do too. Really like it. Anthony Rodriguez, he is like a poor man's Debo. I mean, I don't know that I would compare him really to Debo in any way, shape, or fashion, just in the body type and all of that. I think he's a much smaller guy. He's not light, but 190, he's not Debo. He doesn't have junk in the trunk. He doesn't have the thick thighs that Debo does. And so I don't think you're going to have the same get off. Much more straight line, elusive speed. No, I don't think he's going to be sort of a member of the Yak Bros is what I'm trying to say there. Alexander says the offensive line. Please, Parag. Anthony celebrating here in NYC. It is late there. I'm guessing you're probably a little tipsy at this time. David Hasselhoff, he doesn't play like Debo at all. That's what I'm saying. Steve C. Yeah, baby. Speedster at punt returns. We haven't had that since Ted Ginn. Teddy G. Good memories back there. Good memories. Let me tell you, Teddy G was rocking. That was the last special teams unit that we had going on for the Niners. Kevin Andrews, still rocking with you from Chicago. Another one. Hey, Anthony Rodriguez agrees. Let's address that O-line. People want to know what is the next move. I want to know what are your thoughts on this move. Here we go. Raphael562 with a good question. If you have a question about this, hit me with the @Rob or @RobShoe. So I know you're asking it of me. @Rob, where will the Niners rank in special teams this year? I think they finished up somewhere around 27th, 28th, around there. I believe that this is a potential unit that goes sort of worst to first, much like in jumping within the not conferences, within the divisions. Every year somebody goes worst to first. I think the Niners may flip the script on that with special teams. I mean, they already had two solid kickers in place. It's just a weird dynamic in that they don't have a kicker within their punter or their kicker who can consistently produce touchbacks. And therefore, they had a glaring need, if they were going to stick with that combination of that punter and kicker, they had a glaring need in their coverage unit because their coverage units were unable to give them a positive starting field position for opponents, right? They were pretty consistently giving favorable field position to opposing teams. They addressed that with the linebacker that they signed the other day. Now you're talking about the league leader and not a small sample size. Again, he led the league in number of punts and return yards and was 5th in returns per yards per return. So you're looking at a guy who is a very qualified returner. Now you have addressed both of those glaring needs within special teams. And on top of that, you have brought in a relatively established special teams coach who had a 10-year tenure with the Seattle Seahawks on some very good units. Not great at the end of that tenure, but he was just an assistant. But again, investing in it, upgrading that coaching position, I would hope. So I think there's a chance that they really climb in the rankings. Man, I'm excited. Chris Coast, @RobShoe, any more free agency players you think are next on the 49ers radar? I still believe, they may not even be done at wide receiver. They kicked the tires on Juju Smith-Schuster unless there has been news on him in the last couple of minutes. I think they could look at that. I would love for the Niners to look at Jarvis Landry. You saw Jarvis Landry training in a video with Deebo Samuel. There's a little bit of conversation going on there. I'm telling you, this is going to be a good couple of days because this is where the Niners are going to act. Tobin Ernst, certainly sense that bringing back Jimmy might actually be a thing. I disagree. Yes, he will be on the roster until he's traded. No, he will not take a single snap in preseason or in camp. I do not believe it. I don't believe it because the 49ers would then be risking an injury and the entire salary remaining on the books for the year and getting zero production out of him. So I still stand by the idea he will be traded, and he will be traded for a reasonable asset in compensation. I will admit I'm wrong if that doesn't happen. People excited about the offensive lines. The Fans 2011 says Niners are not making big moves in the offseason. This feels like a relatively big move. It's not the huge day one signings, but as soon as day one passed, we knew that that wasn't going to happen. This one addresses a real need. It's a high caliber player. 6 teams were in on Ray Ray. 6 teams were interested, right? The ones that were confirmed that I found were the Packers, the Niners, the Lions, and the Colts. Everybody looking to upgrade that. And the Niners pulled it out. Anthony Rodriguez says receiver will be addressed in the draft, which is deep. Could be. Very well could be. Nicholas Burrow, love your content, Rob. See this move as meaningless. Kyle has admitted special teams is not of importance. We are wasting time not trading Jimmy. We have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract. I couldn't disagree with you more, Nicholas. Go back and watch Coach Harbaugh talk about special teams. You only need to win 2 out of 3 phases in the league, man. If you dominate on offense and special teams, you are most likely winning that game. If you dominate on defense and special teams, you are most likely winning that game in the NFL. I think that I can't specifically reference this quote that you are saying about Kyle. I don't recall him saying that, but he maybe has downplayed special teams. I would believe that's in response to criticism. Kyle Shanahan generally gets a little bit defensive in that regard. And so they've had some bad special teams units. So I would guess he played it down. And that's probably what you're referring to. If you have a direct quote, please go ahead and throw it in there. I'd be happy to respond to it. The trade with Jimmy, I believe, will happen. But I agree with your last point. We have to take advantage of the rookie contract for Trey Lance. That is key. Giancarlo, at Rob Shue, should we sign La'el Collins at, I can't ever think of that being the appropriate way to pronounce his first name, but I think it is La'el Collins. I struggle with it. The apostrophe throws me off. At right tackle to replace Mike McGlinchey. Giancarlo tried to get me to say it, but I wouldn't disparage our current starting right tackle. I would love to go get Collins. To me, it seems like a stretch, but I feel like it would be a phenomenal move by the 49ers. My guess is they go for a less expensive veteran to fill in for Mike McGlinchey in case he is injured and cannot start at the beginning of the year. All right, I've got a super chat that I have to bring in here. Jaguayo 56 coming in. I'm glad that they recognized the problem with special teams and took care of that. Let's finish it up by signing Heckler, the all-pro punter from the Rams. Yeah, Heckler. It is Heckler, right? Is it Hecker? No, it's Heckler. I'm looking it up. Rams punter. Yeah, John. No, it is Hecker. Hekker. Why did I think it was Heckler? Is he heckling me? Hecker. Shows what I know. I don't think that Mitch Wishnowsky is going anywhere. That's what I would say. This is the last year of his rookie deal. I don't know that we'll commit to him long term, but I think Mitch is here for this year. I think the same thing of Robbie Gould. So I think that our kicking unit is solid and in place. I don't think that anything comes of that. I don't think that they would want to spend big money on a punter. I didn't actually realize that Johnny Hekker was a free agent at the moment. Ooh, he got released. I see. The salary cap is real. Interesting. All right. I see another super chat coming in. Oh, no, wrong about that. All right. I saw a comment that I wanted to get to. Starco fan 212 addressing it to at Rob Shue. We need a good special team so that we don't end up like the Packers in the divisional round. We actually had almost as bad of a special teams unit as the Packers. We just happened to come across a team that had a worse special teams than we do in that divisional round. And man, I am so glad that we did, because that was a memorable game to be at. To be at Lambeau Field, let me tell you, to witness that frickin' win was amazing. I loved it. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. That was one that it was halftime. We were down. It was just me there at the stadium. I flew out there to Wisconsin to go to the game, and I got a single ticket. Great seat, like 50-yard line, maybe 15 rows back. So I'm seated in between families that have had tickets for generations. I mean, the one on my left, their great-grandfather bought the original seats when the stadium opened. And when I looked up in the sky and the snow started to fall at halftime, I just got the sensation that the Niners were going to win that one. And hey, it came from great defense, great special teams, illustrating my point earlier. You only need to win 2 phases of the game. I do think it's huge that they are addressing special teams at this juncture. It was much needed. Sixplicit agrees. Ray Ray is a great signing. Special teams is so important. Niners Sickness Podcast. Good to see you in the comments. Great pickup. They aren't big splash players, but our team got much better. Yes, these additions to special teams, I believe will be a big difference. Q Extra on my side with this one, believing that Kyle never downplayed special teams. Actually, the contrary. Okay, so that's a little closer to my own recollection, but without the quotes in front of me, it's hard to reference. That's for sure. Chris Coast, at Rob Shue, everyone just needs to trust Kyle and John. No one wants the best roster more than them. That's a very fair statement. There's no one more financially incentivized to make this roster as great as it can be than those two individuals. Their entire success is tied to this roster. Man. Jan coming in at Rob. Jimmy G outlasting half the squad. Jimmy G's a hanger-on. I go back to, I believe John Lynch overplayed his hand on this one. I think it's fair to criticize John for not having traded Jimmy at this point. By the way, if you're new and just came in, hit that like button, get this signal amplified for me. Gabriel Lopez Jr. at Rob Shue. Lynch and Shanahan are doing just fine, getting what we've got so far. Splashy signings? No. Methodical and wise signings? Yes. It will all work out. Everyone just be patient. That was well said, Gabriel Lopez Jr. Very well said. Big man, little man. At Rob Shue, we don't have major holes to plug with big signings, so taking it slow, making nice checkmate pieces. I tend to agree. The cornerback, you could have said, was a pretty glaring need. But the Niners addressed it on day one with the best available freaking players. Nick Moneymeyer at Rob, got to grab Gilmore. How you feel about trading Greenlaw and signing Wagner and Julio? Wagner and Julio feel like nice to have, not need to have. So the price tag on those would need to be pretty decent for me to get on board with that. I will say with trading Greenlaw, that seems like the right move. That feels like something you're going to do because you have such a stacked room there. Because if you let him stick around until next year, he walks without any compensation to the team, save for a compensatory pick the following year. So yes, I do think that the Greenlaw trade probably does happen. Gilmore, if the price gets low enough, I'm in on that. Deacon MMA, yeah, buddy. Devontae Adams to the Raiders. Let's go. Hey, Palo Alto Vikings alumni there. Shane, AZ 49ers Empire, you the man, Shue. I love the content and a simple thank you. Thank you, Shane. Appreciate that. John Paul, welcome. Ray Ray speed kills. Watching the highlights of Ray Ray is pretty electric. He has shiftiness. He has speed. He has the ability similar to Mostert in the regard that you can watch him make jukes and maintain a high rate of speed through the move. Doesn't lose momentum, doesn't lose his inertia as he's going through it. To me, that's a rare quality. And some of these guys that may not actually be burners appear to be much faster on film because of that elusiveness. Memphis Man says, at Rob, love your content. King and your positive energy. Let's go Niners. Memphis, man. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. Jim says 6th round pick on a kicker. Maybe. No. You don't want to waste a pick on a kicker yet. You could get one next year when Robbie actually is on the way out. But I think there are other needs that we have later in the draft. Nick Money Meyer, such a cool ass experience, Rob. Hey. Jason, never heard of Ray Ray. Ray Ray led the league in return yards and returns last year. He is an electric. Ray Ray McCloud is an electric returner. I'm telling you. San Francisco 49ers at Rob Shue. This was a great pickup. Little by little, we're winning free agency. It's about value. Road Hog, my apologies for not getting to this earlier. Ray Ray out of the backfield helps, not burn out Debo. Yes, take away some of those returns from Debo Samuel. Don't make that man do everything. He is already your best wide receiver, your best running back. He doesn't need to be your best return man as well. I agree with Roadhog 228. Melvin Crediford pointing out it's a middle-class signing. A strong middle class drives the entire economy. Yes, it is not a bare minimum signing. It is not one of those max deals. It is one of those middle-class signings. The Rams are doing away with it. The Niners are keeping the middle class alive. Armor John 07 says, hey, Ray, welcome to the Bay. Austin Waliba. Ray is the kick returner, punt returner. We've needed the Ted Ginn days. Major upgrade for us. Love this signing. I absolutely love it as well. Victor with the question. Do you think we will get Tyrann Mathieu or Gilmore? I don't. I'm skeptical we will get either one of those guys. 49ers amateur draft scout. Big star names don't make it a great roster. I'm just saying. No, having top guys at the right positions can be the difference in a phenomenal roster and a subpar roster. But when you've got depth behind it, which the Niners appear to have, and a talent for drafting and developing guys, at least at some core positions, which the Niners absolutely can do at defensive line, at linebacker, at running back, I think the Niners have the right formula. Brian calling out right guard, right tackle. That's fair. Jan, brick by brick. Jason saying, if he's 75% of Ted Ginn, it is an okay move. The Crazy Mexican says, at Rob Shue, who would you sign now that we have a chance to get one wide receiver? Juju, Landry, or Julio? What makes better sense for the team? To me, of those, I would go with Jarvis Landry. To me, he is Mr. Consistent. The guy is like 85 catches, 950 yards on average, year in and year out. And he has been a little bit of a decline in the last couple of years with Cleveland, but not a market drop-off. He's 29 years old. To me, Jarvis Landry gets very little respect, both in the, well, not in the league. In the league, he gets respect. He gets very little respect from fans and in fantasy football. He is a value, a real value. Lorenzo says, regardless of what happens with Jimmy, do you think we have enough cap space to still make a substantial move? I think the Niners can clear more cap space by doing a few extensions, reworking of deals. They could clear up an additional $12 million pretty easily with some players that they wouldn't mind tying themselves to for a little while. They haven't done that yet. I do think they still intend to move Jimmy. I know they don't intend to have Jimmy come to camp. So to me, it is... Yes, they have enough room to make some substantial moves, but at some point, Jimmy will hinder them. He's already making it more difficult. He's making it more difficult by still being on the team. Not that it is Jimmy's fault that he's still on the team. I think John Lynch probably overplayed his hand there. Jimmy didn't help with getting the surgery when he did, but I don't know that I can be too mad at him after how we treated him the entire year, having flirted with every quarterback out there, asking him to be the face of the team, belittling him all the time and not giving him too much credit. I mean, he deserved all the criticism. But anyway, I digress. Niner Sickness Podcast. Ray Ray isn't as fast as you, Rob, but he will do. LOL. Yeah, if you saw, I've got pictures of me running the 40 out there at the combine. It was over before you know it. Let me tell you. Ooh, I think you're talking about the punt god. Emmanuel Gutierrez says that punter from San Diego State is fire. I wouldn't mind him. I think he goes in like the third or the fourth round. Gregory Pierce saying Ray Ray is going to be nice. Everett Lucas. Hey, Rob, great channel. Let's just trust John and Kyle. Thanks for this channel. Let's go faithful. Cheers, Everett Lucas. On that note, hey, if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. Please consider subscribing if you're here now and you're new to the channel. Hit the subscribe, hit that notification bell. Be part of the sneakerhead community here on Rob Shoes channel. Callie, born and raised, established in 87, says, is he any good? He led the league in punt returns and punt return yards last year. He had 1,143 total return yards in 2021. He had the 5th highest punt return average and had the most punt returns. So yes, he is good. He is a dynamic returner. 6 teams were in on trying to sign him. He was sought after. Dana and Rose says, should we sign Fletcher Cox to massacre O-lines? I would love to get Fletcher Cox. I just am not sure that he's actually going to make it to real free agency. Like, I kind of got the sense that the Eagles did cut him, but they were already in talks to bring him back. That to me sounds like a guy who wants to stay in Philly. If I start seeing meetings happening with other teams, yes, I hope the Niners get involved, but I think he'll be too expensive. That becomes one of the moves where you ask yourself, does having Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster hinder the 49ers from doing what they need to do, from getting the job done? In a move like that, where you're talking about going to get Fletcher Cox, I do think there's a chance that having Jimmy's salary on the books there hinders your ability to get it done. But it all depends on what type of a contract you're willing to do, how backloaded it can be, what type of a signing bonus you're willing to offer. You can get creative, as the Rams have illustrated. Jason says, we need that Randy Moss, Ted Ginn to take the top off. I'm not certain that is Ray Ray. Yes, he's fast. Yes, I could see him on the jet sweeps. I don't know that he replaces in its entirety the Travis Benjamin role that Kyle Shanahan likes to have in the office, in the offense, not in the office, in the office too. Matt Moses coming in. What up, Rob, bro? Not a whole lot. Just going live. We got another Ray Area. Mike 49ers. Ray, welcome to the Niners, bro. Make us proud this season. Niners for life 2022. Look at this. Matthew Smith. Go Niners from a Jets fan. Appreciate the love. Lars suggests maybe Clowney for 2 years, $18 million. Is that the range he's looking at? I haven't even honestly looked because of the extensive injury history. I'm not a huge Clowney fan. I would need it to be cheaper than that for me to want to get involved, but that might be about the market. Kilo, TW, Debo, Bosa, Kittle, Warner. We already have our names. Yes, we have those big names that we have to pay that most of them were grown in-house. Some were phenomenal trades like Trent Williams. Jason wants to get Collins out of Dallas. That's what we want. Here we go. Dr. Robert Anthony Jr., sneakerhead here on the channel, says, Grant says 49ers interested in Jarvis Landry. I'm telling you, that's who I want. That is the one receiver out there that I would definitely go for. And yes, correctly pointing out, is this Moses? Landry was working out with Debo today too. Yes, he was. He was in that video running that monster hill. Did you see that video? Did you see that hill they were running? Did you see the speed at which they were running that hill? My God. I'm fired up because that was a hell of a video. Daniel Martinez at Rob Shoe. Offensive line has been downgraded. We need to go after Armstead or Lyle Collins. I struggle with that name. At tackle and one guard at a good price. We need to have a good offensive line to protect Lance and open lanes for the running backs. I agree we need a good offensive line. I think the Niners probably see Aaron Banks slotted right into that left guard spot. McGlinchey, that's the question mark at right tackle. And then they've tendered Brunskill. So I don't know that they view offensive line as a big issue in the way that Niner faithful do. Niner faithful definitely believe it's an issue. Brian saying, Rob, or just cut Jimmy. Cut the loss. I do not get behind the idea of cutting Jimmy. I think that you can trade him and you can trade him for assets. And I don't believe that the Niners are serious about these players, that in ways, I don't think they're serious about the players that you would need Jimmy's salary to go get. I don't know that even if they had that money off the books, they would be aggressive at some of these names that we keep throwing out, that Niner faithful really want them to go after. Spencer Green, Rob Shue, Dallas released a good right tackle. Yeah, that is Lyle Collins that we're talking about. If we traded Jimmy, yes, we could sign him. I believe we could sign him just doing a couple of other moves, but I don't think that we will. Big Chris saying Steelers didn't re-sign him because he's barely above average kick returner. Not bad, not great, average wide receiver. I think you are mistaken about the return skills for the young gentleman. I mean, 1,143 total return yards. That is not shabby. 35 of those were kickoffs returned for 776 yards. So again, I am not buying the not a barely above average kick return. I'm not buying the barely above average kick returner because there were 6 teams in on him. That tells me he is sought after, recognized within the league, and the stats back it up. And the tape. Go watch the highlight reels. Rashad Shirazi, does McCloud become our third or fourth wide receiver? Would he play over Jennings on third downs? I don't think so. I believe that he would be much more of a slot receiver. He is a little bit smaller, just under 5'10". I do not think he would replace Juwan Jennings as the third wide receiver. Daniel Martinez at Rob Shue. Obviously, we need to get rid of James G first to free that cap space needed to sign free agents. I'm going crazy that this hasn't happened yet. Buckle up, because it may take a little while to get it done. Just got to be patient. Just a dude, man. Sneakerhead here on the channel says, at Rob, Ray Ray will make people nervous every time they have to kick the ball, and he can stretch the field from time to time. Love this move. I do too. I really do. It is a phenomenal move in my book. San Francisco 49ers at Rob Shue. We need speedy wide receivers now. I think we do need one additional speedy wide receiver. Just my take on it. Maybe he's more of a receiver than he has shown to this point in his career, but I don't think this takes the Niners out of drafting one later in this draft. It is a deep draft. There are a lot of fast guys out there. I watched a lot of them run 4.3 at the freaking combine. I would still go for a speed wide receiver probably in the draft. And then I would love to bring in, if you complete this wide receiver room by going and getting Jarvis Landry and then a speed wide receiver out of the draft in one of the later rounds, hello, I'm on board with that. NYCE 1030 coming in at Rob Shue. Now we got a Debo and a Ray Ray. Let's go, Niners. Keep being patient. It's paying off. Prince Mason at Rob. Niners need to draft Cole Strange, period. I'm telling you, I do think it's possible he's around at the end of the third. I think it's more likely the Niners have to trade up a few spots in front of their compensatory pick in order to truly get it done, in order to lock down Cole Strange. Man, he's a cool dude. I've seen him do a couple of interviews. I feel like I want to try and have him on the channel if he's down. Random uploads. This is a joke. We're signing second and third string players. No, that is the wrong way to look at this. I don't mean to come across in any way as condescending. I just disagree with you on this one. This is a key role addition. Like you got to look at it as such. You got to realize that, man, how frustrated were you? I'm assuming you're a Niners fan, but if you were watching them all year, how frustrating was it to watch the ineptitude that we seem to display on special teams? Now we're finally investing in it. 3 key additions: new special teams coach, new core gunner that's going to be on the coverage units, and now a star returner, a returner who led the league over the last year. So no scrub, not second or third string returner. He's a first string returner, third string wide receiver, but who cares about that? That's not why we signed him. We signed him to be the returner. I'm telling you. 49ers amateur draft scout saying my knees hurt watching that Hill video. Mine too. Go watch it. Debo put it out. I'm telling you, crazy. Glenn Human bringing in, that's how Jerry Rice stayed so great, running hills. Yeah, the infamous hill that he had, the infamous hill. I would love to get Jarvis Landry, as I see his name a couple of times in the chat. Again, if you want to talk to me, say at Rob Shoe, helps me out here, helps me find it amongst all of you guys talking back and forth. Tom Jensen, at Rob, Collins is meeting with Cincinnati. He's rumored to go there. New England and Miami also interested. That's the one. I heard that Cincinnati was rolling out the red carpet, that they put out a spread to try to convince him that he should only make one stop. So it'll be interesting to see if he does get out of Cincinnati. I mean, they were saying Joe Burrow came into the facility. They were really making a push, as they should. But if he doesn't go by, if he makes the time to go to New England and Miami, I would love it if the Niners brought him in. That would be fantastic. Brian still wants a right guard, right tackle. I appreciate that. 49ers Amateur Draft Scout. It is what it is. It's on the SF Niners channel. We talking about some news broke. Did Brad break some news? Brad's a great dude. Great dude. Official BNA Music 88 says, at a good price doesn't exist in free agency if you want true quality. Being cheap got us beat by the Rams when it counted. Swing for the fences and F them picks. Expect Christian Watson. I mean, I disagree with this slightly. There is always value. You always have to know what the value is relative to other decisions. Now, are you getting a value? No, I agree with you there. Like you don't get value in free agency because by definition, you're competing against other teams. The fair market drives up that cost to be at whatever point it should be for the talent or the supply and demand coming together to dictate price. And so, yes, you're overpaying to some extent, but you also have to consider, do I pay X amount for this player or do I pay this amount for the other player? And then you have to look at value between the two. And oftentimes, along with team fit, personality, locker room fit, all of those things come together. So I disagree a little bit in thinking that you don't look for good price or good value. I think you're always looking at that. To me, though, I think the second part of that is a frustration that it feels the Rams are going all in. They have been more aggressive in certain circumstances, but when you look at the entirety of the roster, Matt Mayoko did a great piece where he compared the number of players paid at the top of their tier for their position, and it's relatively similar between the Rams and the 49ers. The area where the Rams are significantly more aggressive is they've eliminated the middle class, the players making like $3 to $8 million. So they either pay you at the top of your field and get a star, or they bring in a scrub or a journeyman or someone who's willing to take a hometown discount because they have all these stars, and they don't care about the draft picks. The Niners have been pretty good at drafting, developing that talent, and then paying that talent. So I'm pretty pleased with the way in which the Niners have built the team. I get the frustration of not feeling like they have pushed all their chips into the middle, and I don't think they have. My working theory is that they really want to confirm that they have what they believe they have in Trey Lance, and that they could be more aggressive in a mid-season trade. Eric Shun, who the F is Ray Ray McCloud? He is the most sought-after return man in the NFL. That's who he is. Michael Jolly, at Rob Shoe, what do you think about Marlon Mack? We just lost 3 running backs. Mack still has some juice. I'm not a huge Mack fan. I think probably because of the injury history. That'd be why I'd shy away. Archie coming in, driving for hours. Any news with Jimmy G? Who we got so far? Jimmy G is still a Niner. And the only news breaking is the Ray Ray McCloud edition, unless something has happened over the past 49 minutes. Luke Luna coming in to just show a little love. Sneakerhead on the channel. Appreciate it. Neil, at Rob. Hey, Rob, any thoughts on when and where Jimmy will be traded? Along with that, what's your thoughts on Packers losing Davante Adams? The Davante Adams thing to me is wild. The idea that Aaron Rodgers was aware of this is confusing to me. The fact that he signed back again, he really lost Not that he had a lot of my respect before this, but he lost a lot of my respect. He talked a good game about last year before the draft that he was not coming back to play for them. He was drawing a line in the sand. And, when he came back, I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then this year, again, with the drama and the BS, and add on to that the whole vaccine thing, and that was just weird in and of itself. But to me, it's strange that he was bitching and moaning about wanting this team to be so elite, and yet comes back and commits for all this money, knowing it sort of forces Davante Adams out the door to get the money he desires. Aaron Rodgers has been calling for receivers for a long time. So maybe they're going to use the money on a couple of receivers. Maybe Aaron wanted a less single-player dominant offense. I don't know. That's a weird one to me. I'm happy for Davante. He and I went to the same high school, not at the same time, but I share that with him, come from the same area in general. And the Jimmy trade, I think that it happens before training camp. And honestly, I don't know, other than there are some dominoes that need to fall before it could happen. So I don't think it happens before any of the other ones happen. Deshaun Watson needs to decide wherever he goes. If he goes to Atlanta, Matt Ryan then has to get moved. Those things have to happen first. But then why does a team feel motivated to make the trade? Like, you need a deadline. You need someone to say, we need to make this trade by X time for some reason. And until the draft, man, if we've got to wait till the draft, I'm going to be depressed. That would be brutal. Paul Diego at Rob Shue. Just wanted to drop in to say I rarely catch your lives, but I always watch later when I have the chance so I can keep up. Thanks for great content. I appreciate the fact that you were able to make it into this random live. For anyone that's in here, the over 500, hit the like button for me. Subscribe if you don't already. Ryan Starr. At Rob Shue, I'm digging this McCloud signing. Special teams, field swaps have been a big weakness within our team for several years. He can help with this. Yes, starting field position is going to be at a premium for the San Francisco 49ers. Nate coming in. It's alarming. Some of you don't value special teams when special teams won us a game in the playoffs. Thank you, Nate. I was at that game, as I said earlier, and I would have been devastated if Jordan Willis had not done what he did on special teams and won us that game. Jan coming in. This brick definitely going into a load-bearing wall, brick by brick. Just a Dude Man says, at Rob, everybody needs to remember, besides O-line, we have our starters already. Depth and specialists are what we need this offseason. I agree. Some addition pieces. That and signing the two studs long-term. Everyone be calm, LOL. I agree. A couple of painful moments when we lost Laken Tomlinson and DJ Jones. But other than that, I've been pleased with the offseason. Joey Nichols at Rob, draft Cole Strange and Cam Jurgens, and our interior offensive line will be super athletic, nasty, and fun to watch for years to come. I love Cole Strange. I know that Brad Graham, who I'm a big fan of, loves Cam Jurgens. I think that would be a good addition. Let's catch up a little bit. Official BNA music at Rob Shue. We go from starting on the 25 to possibly starting at midfield or better. Uncle Ray Ray, Debo, and Ice Tray. 49ers amateur draft scout at Rob Shue. What are your thoughts about the possibility of drafting Cordell Volson? He allowed 0 sacks and also protected Lance's right side at NDSU. I have not watched the tape there. I will need to. Carlos coming in at Rob Shue. Nobody gives a damn about Ray Ray McCloud. Niners will. Carlos, you know what you get for that, Carlos? You get a timeout because it seems like just a timeout. Seems like you're angry. And that timeout gives you just a few minutes to reflect on why you're angry and why you chose that you needed to bring that anger to this space where we're enjoying ourselves. We're very positive. We're celebrating the fact that the 49ers brought in Ray Ray frickin' McCloud, the most sought after returner in free agency. I'm telling you. 7-6er Ray Ray got some Hall and Hester vibes. Hall and Hester. Love it. Dr. Jaspreet coming in at Rob Shue. Why didn't we sign Gilmore? Ward is younger. He plays good defense, but he needs to get more interceptions. It's not always a question of, his ability when it comes to interceptions. Do think back to Carlos Rogers. He had very few interceptions to start his career before coming to the 49ers as a free agent, and then exploded his first year there. I think he had 6 in his first season with the Niners. So I'm not saying that's going to happen here with Ward. And I agree, I would have liked to have had Gilmore, but I do think the age is a big thing. The health is a big thing. And he does play like a dog. When you go and watch his tape, it's pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Dana and Rose says, at Robbie Smith-Schuster, what pick are you looking at for our second and third rounds? I would love to get, in an ideal scenario, Jalen Petrie falls to us in the second. I don't think that's going to happen. And then if that did happen, I would love to take Cole Strange in the third. That, to me, could be an ideal start to the draft. But I have a lot of guys I'm sort of in love with at the moment in the draft that I want the Niners to bring to the team. And I have to figure out how to fit as many as possible into the draft scenario, right? Like the idea is to take as many of those guys as possible. And so I gotta sort of play with that for a bit. Rasta Razi, by the way, a lot of what I just said, if taken out of context, would not sound great. I heard that as I said it. Rasta says, at Rob, the only way Jimmy can stay is if he sits on the bench and be a real backup. Jimmy is not staying, and he is definitely not going to be a backup. That just cannot be. You cannot have a $25 million backup. Please, Niners. All right, we got super chats. Got to bring it in. Todd Jersey Architecture, just with the super sticker, just dropping it. I appreciate that. If I miss some of the comments, I'll try to get back to them, but I got to get to the super chats. 49 Glory. I feel like finding a return specialist in the draft or undrafted free agency would have made more sense. Ray is no Hester or Hall. It's a fair criticism that there were other ways the 49ers could have addressed this. But I think you have to look at now it frees up those draft assets to go after other areas, and it doesn't necessarily prevent them from doubling up. The gentleman that I am absolutely sold on, Marcus Jones, is a nickel cornerback, and he's a very good nickel cornerback, but he's an undersized nickel cornerback, but he's a phenomenal returner. So they could still double up in that way. To me, it doesn't rule it out, but I get what you're saying. And I think it's a fair criticism that there were other ways to address this particular need for the team, but it was a need and it has now been addressed. To me, that's huge. Jose coming in. Hi, Rob. Hope you're doing great. Sign Matthew or wait for the draft. Because of the cost that I anticipate it would take to sign Tyrann Mathieu, I would wait for the draft. Again, in some miracle world, my hope is that Jalen Petrie would fall down to that position. And I know that he's more of a freak athlete that's sort of positionless and not a natural fit, certainly not a natural fit for strong safety there. But again, what I saw at the combine, the fluidity of his movement in those drills, I became infatuated in bringing him onto the team. And I believe that would address the ball hawk issue that the 49ers do have in their secondary. So I would definitely go that direction. And I would understand if Tyrann Mathieu gets to a certain point, a certain price point, that's proven talent. And then you can, again, reallocate those draft assets to something else. Vic the Bambino asks, should the 49ers try to sign Fletcher Cox? Yes, again, if they can afford it. As we get into adding Tyrann Mathieu, Fletcher Cox, like these are the moves that kind of need you to move Jimmy's contract. You could clear up $12 million pretty easy, but to get both those guys in, that's what's tough. Vaca Fam is saying the same thing. We need Jimmy gone. We need the $25 million. We can trade him for at least, last one might be a little overzealous now. I don't even know if we ever would have gotten 2 second-round picks, but I think now you're lucky to get the single second-round pick that I still predict we're going to get. San Francisco 49ers at Rob Shue. I'm not going to lie. Trey makes me nervous. Haven't seen enough of him. But other than that, I feel good about our team. I don't think that's a criticism of Trey. I think that's just an acknowledgement that you haven't seen enough evidence to feel one way or the other. Dr. Jaspreet says, at Rob Shue, you're from Pali? I grew up in Deadwood City. Yes, I am from Pali. I grew up just a few blocks from Stanford campus. Yes, did go there. I shared time there with James Franco. James Franco was in my class. Michael Jolly, at Rob Shue, lots of good interior O-linemen. Scheme fits in the draft. Your boy, Cole Strange, Donovan West, etc. You think they wait for the draft to fill out the O-line. I believe that they bring in a veteran tackle and interior O-line go in the draft. To me, it's a combination. 49 Lakers says, stole my pick and half my name. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Chevelle 70. Hey, a 70 Chevelle. That's a hell of a car. Niners need help on offensive line and more help in the secondary. I agree. I agree with that. Official BNA music. Again, if you have something at me, hit the at Rob Shue. If I skipped your comment, I had to catch up to get to the super chats. Feel free to copy and paste it one time for me. At Rob, I feel like Jimmy G will be a draft day or day one or day two trade. When or as soon as the top QBs are all off. Okay, so as soon as the top quarterbacks are off the board, you believe Jimmy G gets traded on day one or day two of the draft. I think that may be fair. Again, you have to find what's the next deadline that forces these teams to make a move. I get the dominoes need to fall. You see Watson move, and then whoever gets displaced by him, maybe Baker has to move. At some point, you need a hard deadline that forces these teams to act on Jimmy Garoppolo because he's the one that's injured that can't throw right now. Fordman 49, good to see you. Hi, Rob. Hope all is well, my friend. It is, and I appreciate you coming on to say hello. Carlos coming in, at Rob Shue. Watch Niners will draft a kicker and punter in the second and third rounds. Niners need the help of the refs to win games. Carlos, you need a timeout there. I mean, that's just a little bit of instigation that's going on there. Instigation. This is a good question. At Rob, since you answered, should they trade up for Jalen Petrie? Like you said, he might not fall. Yes, but not too far. I don't want to give up too many assets. The Niners right now have 9 draft picks, and I feel that they need all 9 of those draft picks. They need 9 cost-controlled bodies on this roster. I'm not willing to then trade 3 draft picks to move up to just take an earlier second rounder, right? I don't want them to trade their late second, a third, and a sixth to just move up early in the second round. I would much rather that they wait, see how it plays out. And if Petrie falls into the middle of the second, then maybe you move up where then you may only have to give up 2 picks to get the 1 back. And then you could take it. That would be my strategy, but they could always trade back at a later point if they wanted to bring in more picks. So my strategy is not the only one that's out there. Man, I'm getting tired. I tell you, Jose Julio Flores coming in. We love you in Mexico. I love Mexico as well, man. It's phenomenal to have such great interaction and people coming into the chat and putting stuff in to say hello. I absolutely love the interaction. We had the call-in show on the channel earlier tonight, and I had my first international guest from Austria call in. It was phenomenal. Really appreciate the international support. 49 Lakers says, at Rob, what's the point of having Trey on a rookie deal if you're not going to beef up the rest of the team? I mean, let's be honest. The rest of the team is beefed up. This is an NFC championship caliber team, a team that will, by the time the league year starts, probably be paying 7 players that are, top 3 at their position. So they have a lot of elite talent on this roster. It's just a question of, are they pushing in all of their chips now, making even bigger moves and sacrificing the future? Because we see the Rams do that. I think they're hedging a little bit. A little bit of hedging is going on there. And quite honestly, I can't fully fault them for it. As long as they're willing to be aggressive the moment they know, I'm okay with being just a little conservative. Big Daddy Isaac coming in at Rob. It was just reported that the Rams are looking to trade Robert Woods, potential target. It doesn't shock me, given that how crazy that wide receiver core would be, especially if they brought back OBJ. If they look to move him, I don't know. That's a guy coming off an injury. Doubtful that they want to trade him within the division. I would say that's an unlikely trade to happen. Stephon James at Rob. I worry about our backup quarterback, Sudfeld. Oh, man. Yeah, me too. The Niners spent all last season talking about how important it was to have a fantastic backup quarterback. And then this offseason, by signing Nate Sudfeld to a $2 million guarantee, $3 million potential contract, signaling he's not a practice squad player, they're basically saying, hey, we no longer value the backup. Now that we don't have to worry about the Jimmy and Trey scenario, we were really just kidding about valuing that backup. So they're saving money by doing that. But if we end up with Nate Sudfeld starting more than a game or two, that'll be interesting. Dr. Jaspreet coming in at Rob Shue. Who's going to be starting for Seattle week 1 at quarterback? That's a great question. Trying to figure out the quarterbacks we'll be seeing in our division next year. I think there's a reasonable chance it is Baker Mayfield, and I would be fine with that. Stephon James, is Kaepernick really a possibility for a backup for us? No, I do not believe that. Do not believe that at all. I don't think the Niners would want to bring him in because he's a recognizable name. I think the advantage of having Nate Sudfeld as your backup quarterback, even though it's hard to list any advantages, no offense, Nate. Nate, if you see this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean to insult you like that. But if you get to a point where Trey's struggling, is anybody going to call for Nate Sudfeld? Is anybody in the stands going to be like, Nate? I mean, they might. They've had too much to drink. It's potentially that might happen. But I think it would be very few people calling for Nate Sudfeld. If it were Cap back there and Trey Lance struggled, there'd be some noise. And that is a distraction. I also think the team is probably very conscious of the other distraction of just the whole social justice angle. I think that's a mistake. I think the NFL screwed up in that regard. But I don't get the sense the Niners are going to be the team that brings him back. Arturo Romero coming in to say Delano, California, representing. Go Niners. All right, Arturo. Nobody Gaming says, at Rob, I saw McCloud's highlights, has great cuts and explosive. I think speed is the way to finish that. I agree. Jamie Bryant at Rob Shue, have a good night, bro. You too. I need to wrap this up. Luke Luna, have a good night, brother. You as well. I hope everybody's enjoying it. If you're watching it now, please do hit the like button before you head out. I'm going to continue answering those questions that are at Rob Shue for a few more minutes. If you like the content, go ahead and subscribe. Stephen James says, at Rob, this has been one of the best beginnings to an offseason with Russ Wilson gone. So happy he's gone. I have to agree with that. AJ and Bree says, at Rob, do you think we're going to go get Deshaun Watson or no? No, I don't think the organization is going to touch it. Eric Shun, that was not meant to be a play on words. Eric Shun at Rob, I love the professionalism and quality of your program. You deserve a spot on a radio or television network. Cheers to you, Eric. Hey, that is the end goal. Any radio stations, television network executives watching this program, come holler at your boy. I am up for that. Joey saying, ouch, poor Nate. Yeah, sometimes I take shots at a player and I don't really mean to. Like, I'm just acknowledging that you really don't want your backup or your third string guy playing, but I talk about them as if they're a scrub. And I have to always call out that even scrubs on an NFL team are the world's best athletes. Like, they would have dominated your high school. That's the wild part. 7 Manji, Jimmy to Seattle? I don't think so. Jerry Mendoza at Rob Shue, has the AFC West surpassed the NFC West as a best division in football? I'm hesitant to say that, but man, it sure seems like they brought in so much talent. It's hard not to acknowledge it. I think they might have the edge. Carlos trying to insult. I don't have time for it, Carlos. Google account at Rob. They don't call him Nate Tutty Sutty for nothing. I don't know that name. I don't know Nate Tutty Sutty. I'm sorry. Anytime I get someone that, throws a little something in there that throws me off my game. So Carlos's criticism is that I can't admit that the signings have sucked so far this season. I have no problem admitting when signings do suck. I just don't feel that they do. And I am entitled to that opinion. And I have reasons to back up why I have that opinion. And I will be on the show. He references Grant Cohn. I will be on the show with Grant Cohn tomorrow at 11 on his channel, as I am every week. And I will give my opinion and he will give his. We will agree on some, watch and see if I don't sway him to my opinion sometimes. And sometimes he sways me to his. That's how discussion should happen. Dr. Jaspreet coming in at Rob Shue. Jimmy is going to Miami. Everyone's going there from the Niners. Their smart head coach is making Miami a great landing spot. I think they might be all right next year. I'm going to be rooting for Miami. I absolutely will. Look at this. Paul Silvius coming in. Good night from Alaska. Good night. Matt Shug heading out too. It is about that time. Ryan coming in at Rob Shue. All right. Hear me out on this. Maybe TB12 going back to the Bucs to help them recruit good players to their team as a favor to the Bucs before he goes to the Niners. A man can fantasize. That is a tinfoil hat segment. Michael Jolly at Rob. Thanks for all your hard work and dedication. Faithful to the Bay. Appreciate it. Luke Luna at Rob Shue. People complaining about a quality backup until Jimmy becomes backup, then they will have a problem. I think they're good with Sudfeld. Lance will be good. Sudfeld was dropping dimes in camp. Stivers asking if we can get Baker. I don't think we go for Baker. NYCE 1030 at Rob Shue. Have a great night, Rob. Great reporting. I'll catch you on the next one. I appreciate it. Fordman 49 at Rob. Think the Niners might make Stephon Gilmore an offer. Not until it gets cheaper in my mind. All right, couple more. Eric Dane at Rob. Do you think Ray Ray can take some of the wide back runs away from Debo to reduce Debo's risk of injury? He is not the type of body that Debo is. I think that potentially in a end around type of a situation, yes. But no, I don't think he's going to run any of those in between the tackle that Debo did or any of the zone read around the edge. No, I don't think he gets involved too much in the offense that way. Here we go. Dana and Rose asking, are we replacing Mitch? Wish. We need a good punter. If our defense was starting at the 20 and not the 50, we'd be gravy. I still like Mitch Wishnowski. I'm telling you, to me, I still feel like we have a good punter. All right, one more, as long as it's a good one. Derek coming in at Rob. Now we get rid of Jimmy, and with that money, we get Lyle Collins and the Honey Badger. Please pray for this. I think that's a great one to end on. We should all hope that we can get that done. Get Jimmy's money off the books, send him respectfully on his way, bring in Collins from the Cowboys and Honey Badger from the Chiefs. Get your tackle/guard wherever you need to use him and your safety. Lock it down. That would be phenomenal. That would be a great way to put a cap on free agency. I love that. We are ending on that, ending on Fordman49 saying he loves this show. I love this show. I love interacting with all of you. Thank you for tuning in. It was just going to be a quick update, and then I couldn't stop the dialogue with all of you. So if you enjoy the content, please hit the like button. Please subscribe before you leave. It helps me amplify my signal, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate you. Thank you for being on here. I will be back on my channel multiple times tomorrow. I'll be with Grant on his channel at 11. I'll be back on this channel at 1:30 with Brad Graham from the SF Niners. And I will be back at 4 p.m. with Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, hoping there will be even more news to report tomorrow. Until then, cheers, Niner faithful.